magic in the air. Wands roll around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so wizard.
Hasbro getting out of the movie business? Bob Worldbuilder leaving Twitter? Elon Musk hates Wizards of the Coast? It must be Wednesday. Hey, it's time for another exciting episode of That's So Wizards. That's So Wizards is filmed live in front of the studio audience consisting of Steve the Cat. How y'all doing this Wednesday? It's the day before Thanksgiving, so hopefully you are ready and have all your bells and whistles and turkey and stuffing. But if you don't, remember, 7-Eleven is open 24 hours. It is a gloomy, foggy, cold day here at Site B. Perfect for Thanksgiving. Let's get into the number one story from our good friends over at Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro that doesn't involve Elon Musk. And that is the announcement that they're done with movies. They're done making movies and probably TV. They're basically just done with that aspect of entertainment. So wait, they're going to be focusing on video games is what you're telling me? So wait, they're going to stop making movies and TV shows is what you're telling me? Well, live action anyways? Isn't this something I said they were going to do like a year ago after the utter failure of Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves, after them telling us that they're dumping Power Rangers? Here's a license to print free money. Screw that. And they're dumping Transformers. Here's a license to print free money. Screw that. Now they're like, we're done. We're done with movies. We're not even going to bother buying a new studio. TV, probably done with that as well. What does that mean for my beloved Power Rangers? Considering there are rumors of a new show, don't know. And as for the individual who claimed that Hasbro was going to be starting a multi-billion-dollar entertainment industry and that Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves was going to make more money than the entire Harry Potter and Star Wars films, and that was going to be a bigger moment in history than Lincoln, I would like to remind them that, no, it's not. Ha. Once again, Hasbro does exactly what they said what they're going to do, and people are like, what? And a follow-up to that, they've also let us know that they fully plan to continue to invest wholly on video games. In fact, even as we speak, they're working on a brand new video game. Could be Baldur's Gate 4, could be something else. What's that video game? We don't know. It's very mysterious. Doesn't even have a funny, phony baloney name yet. It's just them telling us, yes, we are definitely working on a video game of some kind. Don't know what it is, but we're definitely working on it. Hey, thanks. What? Hasbro's getting out of the movie business? Oh no! Who said they were going to do that? Who? Oh, that was me. Yeah, that was me. Okay, let's go on. There are other things going on with Wizards of the Coast that has nothing to do with Elon Musk. You may have noticed a certain individual working on his brand new video game, role-playing game, has posted another thing on D&D Beyond. Yes, once again, Matt Colville, despite continuing to work on the mysterious Matt Colville role-playing game, now referred to as Draw Steel. Yes, Draw Steel is currently the official name for the Matt Culver MCDM role-playing game that he announced last year that won't be ready till sometime next year. Now, when he first announced Draw Steel, most of us assumed that was a Kickstarter bonus and that it wasn't the full game, because when he showed it, it was like 25 pages. So we were all like, oh, that's just, one of those Kickstarter bonuses, But no, that's apparently the full game. Or at least what was ready. But out of that comes a brand new character class called the Illager. What's wrong with you? Oh, I'm Illager, which is sort of like the Blood Hunter. It's a super updated necromancer, warlock type of thing. It's apparently so powerful that people are already saying it's banned from their campaigns. That it's such a game-breaking build that anybody who says it has seen it has said, no, I'm banning that in my game. Also, in order to be able to play this new character class on D&D Beyond, you have to spend $15. $15 to be able to play a character class. Because, yeah, that's totally something you guys said Wizards of the Coast would never do when they said they were going to go Dungeons & Dragons digital. Oh, yeah, how many of you said, oh, no, they're not going to follow that format. They're not going to follow the DLC pay-to-win format. No, they're not going to do that. And Wizards of the Coast said, yeah, we are. And Hasbro said, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we've been telling you we're going to do that since 2020. But, oh, no. People still refuse to believe that that's the format they plan to follow, but yet here it is again, a brand new class available to you on D&D Beyond to play in your games and probably eventually on the VTT thingy if you're willing to spend $15 to rent that class and add it to your list of things that you've rented on D&D Beyond. Because remember, you're just renting the space in D&D Beyond. You don't own any of those things. You're renting them. You have to continue to pay that monthly fee to be able to have access to those things. And if you fail to pay the monthly fee, you don't have access to those things anymore. Which means you'd have to go back to the physical oh, wait, there are no physical copies of this, are there? Guess you could download. Oh, no, wait, you can't download it because it's D&D Beyond. So what does this mean for our friend Matt Colville continuing to put stuff for his MCDM game onto D&D Beyond? Is this sort of him backwardsing away from the I'm done with D&D mindset that he tried to convince us he was? I don't think anybody believed that Colville was dumping D&D. One, it's been too financially successful for him. Two, it's where he's known. You know, his third-party 5e stuff is some of the best out there, right? It's him and Kobold Press consistently winning the awards. Plus, we also know he's well known for taking a very, 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 very long time to finish a project when started. MCDM or all the Monster Manual books that he announced that weren't ready for like 3-4 years. You know, remember those? Yeah. Then showed up on D&D Beyond after he said, no, I'm done. Gonna focus totally on this MCDM game of mine, which will be available sometime in late 2025. Maybe. Now it looks like he's saying, you know, maybe I shouldn't abandon D&D 5, 6, whatever you want to call it, just yet in case I still need money and the MCDM thing isn't quite ready by the nebulous start date of sometime in 2025. Yeah. Again, did anybody really think he was dumping D&D completely? No, I don't think any of us did. I think most of us looked at the MCDM thing and went, yeah, no, that's not happening. A game that you don't even think will be ready to 2025? No, right. Okay. Speaking of supposedly selling out, I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about this one from the people who don't pay attention. Free League Games has just announced in partnership with Wizards of the Coast that their Lord of the Rings role-playing game is now going to be available in some form or another on D&D Beyond. Oh my God, does this mean J.R. Tolkien is owned by Hasbro? Oh my God, does this mean Free League Games is giving up and making 5e stuff now? Ha 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 ha. No. If you were paying attention, you would know that Free League no longer owns the license to the Lord of the Rings stuff. That's owned by Amazon and a brand new publishing company / media company. So all they're doing is getting rid of a game they don't own anymore, so they can make money off of a game they don't own anymore that was already made for 5e that they don't own anymore. And then Amazon can now go, oh, thanks for this new money, Wizards of the Coast. And the new production company, whose name I can't remember, that owns all the Lord of the Rings stuff, can go, oh, hey, thanks for all this money, Wizards of the Coast. And Freely can go, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't do 5e. We're not associated with Wizards of the Coast. We make good games. Not quite sure how Free League ended up with the license to one 5th edition product and why they ran with it. I don't know what this means for their other Lord of the Rings game, The One Ring. But for the Lord of the Rings role-playing game, their 5e specific game that they had for a buck and change, they're just tossing it aside. As of now, they still have the One Ring role-playing game, but again, They don't own the license anymore. That license went to a brand new company and is split between Amazon, the geniuses who bring us all this new Lord of the Rings stuff that we see on Amazon every week, that everybody's going, what? But that's not the topic of this thing. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to the One Ring, but in regards to this, no, they're not selling out. No, this doesn't mean Hasbro owns Amazon. No, this doesn't mean Hasbro owns Free League Publishing. It literally just means here, we don't own this anymore. We can't make money off of it anymore. So let's give it to them and let them worry about all the legal stuff while we at Free League continue to focus on decent games. But we know there's people out there who are going to say, oh, I guess this means Lord of the Rings and blah, blah, blah is now canon in D&D. No, it does not. Moving on to canon, or speaking of canon, or lack thereof. Wizards of the Coast wants us to know that there's a brand new, utterly, ridiculously expensive Red Dragon figure, and this will feature the brand new look of the Red Dragon that we're seeing for the very first time. This is the 2025 Monster Manual Red Dragon, completely different than the previous Red Dragons. They've changed everything about the Red Dragons, as you know. They've changed the history, biomes, personalities, whatever. This thing is 75 millimeter base, 8-inch wingspan, and will cost you $80. For $80, I don't know, man. You can just, So, and you can see it is focusing on the brand new look of the Red Dragon. Now they have darker scales on the lower parts of their body so they can blend in with the smoke and the clouds from fire, which is actually pretty cool. Again, we see that weird whitening on the face, similar to what we saw on the Black Dragon. Again, insinuating that, breathing out the breath weapon over a long period of time does alter the way their facial features and those young dragon gleamy baby scales slowly get melted away or burnt away. It doesn't really damage them, but it does change the way their face looks, which totally made sense for the Black Dragon because his breath weapon is acid. Does it make sense for the Red Dragon? I mean, it is basically immune to its own breath weapon, but still, I guess it kind of does make sense that all the smoke and ash year after year after year would sort of change the way its nose looks. So again, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with them changing the dragon. The dragon appearances constantly changes. I have no problem with them for why they're doing it. It totally makes sense that they want the dragons that they show to be completely and utterly 100% their dragon and have no connection to any other dragon. That way they can merchandise the IP of that specific look any way they want, and they can have that specific look of the dragons on their games and not worry about anything. This is Wizards of the Coast Red Dragon. It is no way connected to any other dragon that's ever appeared, including previous incarnations of Wizards of the Coast / Dungeons and Dragons dragons. I'm 100% fine with that. That makes total sense to me. The way they're doing it, as usual, makes no sense because in the process of completely changing the way the dragons look and the biology of the dragons, Wizards of the Coast would have us believe that before now they have never, these are their words, not mine. Remember, these are their words, not mine. I'm not making this up. They actually said this. Up till now, we have never presented the biomes of where the dragons live or their personalities. So this will be the very first time in the history of Dungeons & Dragons that we are now getting a complete rundown of the biomes, where and how the dragons live, and the personalities of the dragons live, because Wizards claims they've never done this before. Mind you, less than a year ago, a couple months ago, they came out with that huge dragon anthology tabletop book that had coffee table book that had pictures of dragons and lore of dragons and information on the dragons from a coffee table point of view. That also they've done multiple adventures about dragons, including the Dragon Egg Tiamat stuff, Horde of the Dragon Queen, that dragons have appeared in multiple 5e products over the past 10 years, including the original 5e Monster and Manual. Plus, for the past 50 years, dragons have been the #1 monster, no doubt, and have appeared countless times over the swath of D&D products. And we know without a shadow of a doubt exactly where red dragons live, what their personalities are like, and what the general lifestyle span stuff that a red dragon does, much less all the other dragons. So despite giving us the information for the past 50 years, Wizards of the Coast would have us believe that up till now they've never done that. Nope. We've never, ever printed the personalities or where these dragons live. What is this? It literally said you just put out a huge coffee table book that did nothing but tell us about the dragons. No, we didn't. What's this on my table? That's not on your table. Don't make us send the Pinkertons to your house. We did not make that book. But it literally says, no, it doesn't. But nope. But no, we didn't. This is the very first time. But, don't make us send the Pinkertons to your house, OGGM. Remember, this is the first time we've ever done this. Never before in the 50 years of the hobby have we released any information on where dragons live or what their personalities are like. Well, I can't argue with that logic, Wizards of the Coast. Let's move on to another story that makes no sense. So, in case you've been sleeping under a rock, Elon Musk made a comment about Dungeons and Dragons in response to a comment that was on the Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit thing that was in response to a article that was in response to the new 50 years history D&D book. Now, I've already talked about this on Monday, and I talked about it last week, so there's no reason to go over it. So how does this relate to Bob Worldbuilder? Well, apparently Bob Worldbuilder decided to make a very long 8-minute, 10-minute video about Elon Musk's concept. And in this video and on his posts on the Twitter, he wants us to know that he's leaving Twitter to go to Blue Sky. And somehow it's because of Elon Musk's comment on D&D. I would remind you that in 2023, Bob Worldbuilder was one of the many people that were saying horrible things about Wizards of the Coast and that, boycott Wizards of the Coast during the whole OGL thing. And for a while, it looked like he was going to start talking about other games. But since he's been receiving, copies of the new DM's guide, the new player's handbook, and we can assume the new Monster Manual, he's gone back to his very soft, negative approach and focusing again mostly on D&D and D&G adjacent products, which is fine because that's his wheelhouse. That's where his money comes from, right? 5e. So if anybody thought he was going to stay loyal to the OGL, stay loyal to the old games and dump 5e after last year's, no, of course not. Now, as for leaving Twitter because Elon Musk wrote that little thing, I don't see why he's leaving Twitter. He's leaving Twitter for Blue Sky. A lot of people are saying, I'm leaving Twitter for Blue Sky. And a lot of us are going, you can be on both. You do know that's how the internet works, right? You can be on Twitter and Blue Sky at the same time. I know, Magic. What? But they're two different. What? No. And you can be on two places at the same time in the internet. That's how it works. So he said this thing, and I don't know if was he being serious or was he being facetious? Was he slightly letting us know his politics and his response to Elon Musk and his new plans for the government? Or was he just taking a laugh at how ridiculous this Elon Musk thing has gotten? A lot of people are taking umbrage with the fact that Elon Musk said Wizards of the Coast could burn in hell. I will remind you that most of us have said far worse than that. And a lot of the people who are now defending it, Wizards of the Coast, are people who are a year ago were saying things like Wizards of the Coast needs to go kill themselves and stuff like that. How quickly a year changes. How quickly things change when money and Wizards of the Coast is involved. So, yes, it is Bob WorldBuilder leaving Twitter because of Elon Musk's post about people who are saying horrible things about Gygax need to burn in hell. Well, probably not, because Twitter is another income resource for him, so I seriously doubt he'd do anything that self-destructive. The more people he can get his words to, the more people that go to his site, check out his stuff, and the more money he makes. So leaving Twitter despite your politics would not make sense unless, Musk does some weird autocratian thing in the future that makes it very difficult for people on Bob's side of the fence or my side of the fence to post. Otherwise, it's just another way to get ad revenue. So I don't really care about Elon Musk's politics or the politics of Twitter in regards to posting my stuff on Twitter, because it's just more faces, it's more seats in the aisles. So I think Bob was just being facetious. I think he was just trying to shore up his no, I'm still pro 6th edition and whatever. And I think Elon Musk is being silly. I don't see anything wrong with the 50-year history. You notice, I said this before. I've said this twice before. You notice that everybody who is responding to this and saying Elon Musk was bad and that the book that they're referring to doesn't poop all over Gygax, they're reading the exact same quote. It's like Wizards of the Coast put out an official press release, and anybody who's on the Wizards of the Coast side is reading that exact same post. Well, if you notice, you've read the book, you see that we mentioned the name Gary Gygax several times, blah, blah, blah. We actually have articles and things that Gygax wrote in the book, blah, 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 blah. So we definitely stand on the shoulders of Gary Gygax in this book. Look how many times we say Gary Gygax in Dungeons and Dragons. We're not erasing Gary Gygax. No, nobody's accusing you of erasing Gary Gygax. Of course, Gygax and Dave are mentioned 1,000 times in the books. Of course you have articles and photocopies and stuff like that. That's not a question. Anybody who says that is dumb. They don't erase the history. What they're doing is rewriting the history to present Gygax in a much more harmful way. In fact, I just had this argument yesterday with somebody about Gary Gygax is a sexist and he said so, according to Ben Riggs. Well, I think we all know how much respect we have for the authenticity for Ben Riggs' art stuff that he wrote about Gygax. In regards to Gygax's response that he was saying he was a sexist, you really need to read it because he's being sarcastic. Did you know the very first Paladin player character and the very first Cleric player character were both females? Did you know that Gary Gygax's first employee was a girl? Did you know that all 3 of Gary Gygax's daughters played D&D? Did you know that Gygax had tons of women in his lives? I don't know if you know what I mean. And that, he had LGBTQ people at his table. He had LGBTQ friends. He was just a dude. He was a dude who grew up in a time period, raised by parents who grew up in a different time period. So obviously his worldview was based upon how he grew up and where he lived. And that could be perceived today as, well, he was sexist because he grew up in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And as you know, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, women weren't treated the way they're treated now. Yeah, but that's not sexist. That's just the way things were. And we've since changed. And Gygax had girls at the table. Which, of course, Wizards of the Coast continues to want to make you believe that that never happened. So they published that book. That book got a huge article written about it. That article got a smaller article written about it. That smaller article got a little post about it. That post somehow reached the eyes of Elon Musk, who made his post. A bunch of us responded to that post. Then Bob WorldBuilder responded to the post and then did his whole weird I'm leaving Twitter thing. But I don't know, really, am I? Because that's just more money. And what do you know? I can publish both on Twitter and Blue Sky and appease all my fans. Well, that feels like good news, but of course that's not really interesting. We got to look at what Bob Builder said and try and find, oh, he hates us because we play D&D or whatever. I don't know. It's just another Wednesday. We're spiraling towards the end of the year. What an amazing 50th anniversary for D&D we've had. I mean, other than the fact Wizards of the Coast hasn't released any official 50th anniversary birthday stuff other than the Dungeons & Dragons meat snacks. But that's what we can expect. We can expect them to continue doing what exactly they said they were going to do. They're not making any movies anymore. That's something they said they were going to do. They're focusing solely on video games and you're surprised? No, that's something they said they were going to do. We're cutting our costs by letting people go? Nope, that's something they said we're going to do. We're going to continue to facilitate the false narrative about Gygax as long as we can make money off of it. That's something we said we were going to do. That's the truth. We're not lying. When we tell you we're going to do something, 9 out of 10 times we're going to do it because that's so Wizards!
Laughing aloud now, magic in the air. Wands swirl around us, cast away our care. Friends in the hallways, adventures we find. Spells and enchantments, trouble on our mind. That's so Wizards, oh. Life is a spell we know. We're casting joy